This is a working-class neighborhood in Boston, 25 years ago. It's an environment where families stay for generations, bound by a rigid code of unwritten rules. 3 young boys, Jimmy, Sean, and Dave, spend their afternoon playing street hockey. When they find a fresh catch of wet cement, they stop to carve their names into the sidewalk. But before the last name is finished, a car pulls to the curb. 2 men posing as police officers abduct Dave. They lock him in a cellar for days, subjecting him to abuse that stunts his emotional development for the rest of his life. By the time Dave escapes, the sidewalk has hardened. His half-finished signature remains as a physical scar on the street, a permanent record of the day he stopped growing. 25 years later, the 3 friends have drifted into very different lives. Jimmy is an ex-convict running a grocery store, while Sean is a state police detective, and Dave is a quiet, haunted man, still carrying the weight of that cellar. Their paths converge again when Jimmy's 19-year-old daughter, Katie, is found dead in a local park. The brutality of the crime forces all 3 men back into the world they tried to leave behind. Katie's murder acts as a catalyst for 3 decades of suppressed resentment. The unaddressed wounds of their childhood have left them incapable of processing this new grief without reverting to violence. As the investigation begins, the trio splits along ideological lines. Sean follows the forensic evidence and the rule of law, while Jimmy recruits his old criminal associates to find the killer through his own brand of street justice. Jimmy's guilt over Dave's abduction has curdled into a hair-trigger volatility. He views the police investigation as a weakness, believing that only his personal intervention can settle the debt he feels he owes his daughter. Meanwhile, Dave returns home the night of the murder covered in blood. He claims he fought off a mugger, but in reality, he encountered a child molester in the park and beat the man to death, a reflexive act of vigilante retribution for his own past. Dave's erratic behavior and inability to explain his movements make him an easy target for suspicion. To his neighbors and even his own wife, his trauma looks like guilt. While Jimmy hunts Dave, Sean uncovers the actual sequence of events. Katie wasn't killed by a predator. She was shot by a neighborhood teenager who was playing with his father's gun. The murder was a senseless accident, a prank that went wrong in a matter of seconds. But in a community shaped by old agonies, everyone is looking for a monster to blame. Jimmy reaches Dave at a riverside bar hours before Sean can deliver the news about the teenagers. He is convinced he has found his daughter's killer. Jimmy presents Dave with a simple, terrifying choice. If Dave confesses to killing Katie, Jimmy promises to let him walk away. If Dave continues to deny it, he dies. Dave is a man who has been conditioned by abuse to submit to the narratives of powerful men. Exhausted and desperate to survive, he begins to speak. He accepts the role Jimmy has assigned him, offering a false confession that mirrors Jimmy's own assumptions. He believes that by telling this lie, he might finally be allowed to go home. Jimmy kills him anyway. He stabs Dave and drops his body into the Mystic River, believing he has finally achieved justice for his family and closure for his past. Jimmy's vengeance didn't find the killer. It only claimed the life of the friend he failed to protect 25 years ago. The legal case ends with the arrest of the teenagers, but the social order remains unchanged. Jimmy faces no consequences for Dave's murder, and the neighborhood returns to its quiet routines. Jimmy's wife, Annabeth, provides the final justification. She calls him a king and insists that any act committed to protect the family is inherently virtuous, regardless of who was caught in the crossfire. In this environment, the formal mechanisms of the law are secondary to the preservation of the household. When the local power structure views violence as a tool for stability, the facts of a crime become irrelevant compared to the status of the person committing it. The outcome is lopsided. Jimmy and Sean return to their roles as heads of their households, while Dave's wife, Celeste, is left isolated and wandering the streets, ruined by the very neighbors who claim to value loyalty. During a town parade, Sean and Jimmy lock eyes. Sean makes a silent finger gun gesture toward Jimmy, a sign that he knows what happened at the river, but has no intention of disrupting the status quo. The water carries away the evidence, but the underlying trauma remains. Because this community prioritizes the strength of its patriarchs over the safety of its victims, the cycle of violence is set to repeat.